building my tongue beneath itself, bleaching my language, clenching my jaw with shackled teeth, because the moment I open my mouth, uprising spring from my saliva, my dialogue is cruddy. Trample with the muddy boots of trade and migration, battling nations in my diaphragm, so the rhythm in my diction sounds like a war cry. And despite the white stuff down my windpipe, I talk black with nappy phonics, syllables that kink and twist, naughty expression that beads on my palate, soul glow in this spit shine flow, Jerry curl jargon, bongo drums in my diction. This slang is semantic resistance, off with the head of the king's English. Can't you smell the riot on my breath? Char in my esophagus, my laugh is arsenic. And ain't enough opiates in this elementary education to hook me on phonics or gentrify the djembe out of my pronunciation. Love the taste of this cornbread accent. Sugar cane slang my tongue is. Motherland, mama of civilization, birth of every nation. Scat, boom, back, hi-hat, jazz, sax. There is music in my melanin and I be talking hella black. With a neck roll to articulate my tone. Conversations get you high as my cheekbones, and lingo bout lush as these hips done grown. Thick thighs and deep fried vernacular, hand motions and sound effects, hieroglyphics hidden in my messages. My breath is the building of the pyramids on repeat. I'm like a Negro spiritual sampled over a trap beat. There is a black anthem inside my belly, so I will always lift every voice and speak.
Welcome to the Black Effect Day 3. The Black Effect is a 5-day virtual event hosted by the National Plus Coalition and streamed through our sister company, Plus TV and Media Productions. This event will be led by 15 of the most powerful speakers who we could find to discuss 15 topics that affect melanated people on a national note. My name is Maria. I'm a tech-savvy ex-military kid who grew up in California, living the female version of Forrest Gump's life, and I now reside in Colorado. I'm a lover of life, music fanatic, often caught reading, now a justice reform advocate or a clemency pusher, lover of all people, critical thinker, sister, daughter, mother, grandma, who is the push behind the Free Kendall Martin movement. You can check us out at freekendallmartin.com. With me is my lovely co-hostess, Francetta Mays. She's a native of Oklahoma City, currently residing in Oklahoma City. She's the owner of In Your Dreams Broadcasting, Publications, and Events, LLC. Talk show host for Flipping the Script, the current NAACP presidential liaison for the Tulsa chapter number 6143. And she's also a pastor at the Going Hard for Christ Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Miss Mays became very passionate regarding criminal reform in August of 2021 after hearing the story of Prentice Pons, a man serving life plus 25 years for a fist fight in his home. And since then, she has been relentless in her endeavors to now change the narrative for everyone through her work in the community and abroad. Miss Mays now uses her voice and platforms to bring awareness and enlist the assistance of people no matter the nationality or background. She dares to believe that each one can reach one, then affect the lives of many. Yesterday, our speakers covered criminal justice, political prisoners in the abolitionist movement. It was an amazing day yesterday. Before we get started, I would like to say tonight we'd like to adopt something that we've shunned for almost 2 years, and that is asking for financial assistance. Plus, whether you're speaking about Plus TV and Media Productions or the National Plus Coalition, we are not funded with any government agency. In fact, most of everything that is done is funded by our brothers behind the walls. Tonight, and for the continuation of the event, we ask that our viewers please donate anything you are able to. The funds will be used to better our platform and extend our reach in many other areas. You can Cash App to $Coalition88, or you may use PayPal. The donation link is in the video description. How are you tonight, Miss Mays?
I am super fantastic, Maria. I am so excited. I was rushing. I came in today rushing. I had been on the highway, but it was like I couldn't miss tonight. And I had to be here because these last 2 nights have really blown my mind. They're like an educational program. What do they call it? The fast track that you can get on in college.
We put you on the fast track.
Yeah, I have really, really been enlightened by all of the information that is now made public. Because as I stated last night, you don't really understand that it's so many people that are in the world that has no clue about what's going on with prison system, have no clue about what's going on with the laws, about the vote and the power of the vote. The NAACP, for example, in many cases have lost their voice as well because we've allowed a lot of segregation to happen. So I'm grateful for the panel and all the people and the Black Effect and the Coalition Plus Coalition, Kent, you, Brooke, everyone that has worked so tirelessly to bring this event on. For tonight, I'm so excited. I love people that give a sacrifice of their lives for our country. And thank you, as well as our next guest, Mr. Seth Miller. He served as a United States Air Force Master Sergeant and with 20 years plus of military experience. Seth has endured positive and negative experiences, which have contributed to cultivating hustle mindset. I like that. Seth has emboldened individuals to step into their power as leaders, beginning with confronting the fears that impair their abilities and undermine success, which is awesome. As a father, speaker, coach, and author, he desires to share learned valuable lessons on disrupting our natural default settings. That's powerful. And embracing discomfort while facilitating forward movement. Seth has spoken on several platforms: United States Air Force Diversity and Inclusion, the Wounded Warrior Project, and St. Louis Urban League, to name a few. While contributing his passion to the community, Seth is able to break down complex concepts, making it applicable to everyday life. He himself can offer relatable experiences, which allow for him to learn with others and offer a personal connection with those he instructs. Seth possesses an infinite drive and passion to reach others. And tonight, I just want to introduce to our viewers, our listeners, Seth Miller, and he will be talking tonight about Black businesses.
Oh, there we go. How y'all doing? How's everybody? How are you doing? How you doing? How you doing? My name is Seth. Like she said, thank you all for watching. Thank you for the warm welcome, and just thank you all for this opportunity. So, like she said, a little bit about me, and excuse the dogs for barking, right? Pizza must be on the way. Anyway, a little bit about me, like she said, originally from Detroit. Served some time in the military, did enough to retire. However, I was able to understand how important it was to put ourselves in a position where we can move effectively, but also strategically. So what I've realized was that we as a community, we lack certain realistic situations when it comes down to business, specifically Black-owned businesses. So what I want to introduce to you is a word name we'll call it POP, P-O-P. Now, originally comes from Detroit, what we call Coca-Cola or Pepsi. Yes, it's pop, not soda. You understand? But the POP in this case stands for your passion, opportunity, and purpose. What we should do when we want to go into business, not business, is understand why we want to do it in the first place. Hence the reason why I said business versus business, because just because you get an EIN number, or just because you have a logo, does not mean that you're in business. That just means that you have taken one step towards many to be a legitimate business. So I'm going back. The POP, passion, opportunity, and purpose. There's sometimes individuals go into business because of someone else's result. They are attracted to that. However, what they don't see is the grind that's put into that. What they don't see is the learning that's put into that, the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifice. So what happens specifically with us is we lose a lack of, we have a lack of consistency, and we can have a lack of longevity. So I encourage anyone that's going into business, before they do, find out what your passion is. What is it that you really like to do? The old saying goes, if you love what you do at work, it's not considered work anymore. So if you have the opportunity to do something that you are passionate about, how do you find out how to monetize from it? A, get a coach. B, do your research. C, find out who in your realm is doing what you like to do. You don't, and I've said this before, not here, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. All you have to do is put your own air in the tire, right? Make it your own. So that's the passion piece, finding that passion. The other part is your opportunities. What we do sometimes is shun opportunities that's not affording us money. That's not affording us monetary gain. Well, I'm not going to do that unless I get paid. Okay. But you have to understand the long game. It's chess, not checkers, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are in a position where you making this one move that may not give you money today, but can put you in a position where someone see what you're doing and they want to invest in you, and or what about the experience that you're getting? You may not get the money, but you're getting experience that is worth far more than what your product has at that time for you to gain. So that's your opportunity. The last part of that is the purpose. All of this goes together. But at the end of the day, you, me, us, together, we need to be able to look ourselves in the mirror authentically and just just being so transparent and say, what is it that I want to do and why? Who is this ultimately going to help? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you have the opportunity to see this beautiful chocolate face, that means you woke up on this side of the dirt. Nobody and no one said that you were supposed to. You understand? So now that you're up, you have a purpose. Align your passion, utilize opportunities to see your full potential within your purpose. And so it's unfortunate that sometimes we lose sight of those things because of external gray noise. We have individuals sometimes that tell us what we should do about our business, but watch out, never had a business for themselves. Okay? Never had a business for themselves. So does that mean everybody's quote unquote hating on you? No, that just means they may have something that they see from a different point of view. But how do you utilize that? Here's another acronym. Some of you may have heard this before. It's called SWAT, a SWAT analysis. What is your strength? Understanding what you are good at, okay? And exposing that and exploiting that. The next is your weakness. I don't like to use the word weakness. I like to call that something that you're not as strong in. Meaning, do you not know how to communicate your product effectively? Maybe I need to work on that. How do I work on that? Maybe I get a coach. Maybe I find Seth Miller to help me on out. Or maybe I find someone else that's in my lane that can help me with my elevator pitch. Next would be the O in opportunity. You see that? What are the opportunities for me to exploit my strength or to help gain more information for something that I'm not so strong at? What opportunities do I have that's afforded to me? Next is the threat. Some individuals feel a way about that word, the threat. What that means is there may be someone out there that is in the same lane as you in your business, right? Same type of product, but not your product. But the threat is you have your general audience, if you will, or your customer, your client, based off of if you're selling a product or service, they are distracted by someone else that's doing what you're doing. So how do you do what? Put your own air in the tire and not reinventing the wheel, putting your own air in the tire by making yours that much more better. So I ask you all to consider those two things, the pop, because it's not soda, right? The pop, your passion, opportunity, and purpose, and then utilizing your SWOT analysis as you're going to your business. What is my strength? What am I no kidding good at? What my mama say I'm good at? All right. That's something that I can monetize. Now, what is it that I'm not so good at? Maybe I need to go back to school. You feel me? Put a pin in that. Next, what opportunities can I use to exploit this? What is that? What can I take without being a snob and say, oh, that's beneath me? And next, the threat. Where are my customers going? My potential customers going. So I put a pin in that weakness, something I'm not so strong at. Sometimes that weakness, ladies and gentlemen, when you are in business or want to go into business, it's pride there. And ego. What you say? Yeah. You understand? Sometimes we may feel as though we know just enough to make us a millionaire. Okay. If it was that easy, you would be a millionaire right now. Let me give you this sound effect. You dig what I'm saying? So humble yourself, understand where you're at, do your own self-analysis, and find out where you could go to enhance who you are. You understand? Get out of yourself. No one arrives on top of the hill. They had to climb. So the question is, who are you? Or who do you think you are that you don't have to struggle? You understand? Or that you don't have things that you can sharpen out, things that you can refine, to redefine, to make you a better, or to have a better product, but also to make you a better business person. So there's something else that I would like you to think about when it comes down to Black business. Some of us can embody these three different parts of running a business. However, we have to be honest to understand when we can't. For an example, let's say I wanted to open up my own soul food restaurant because I love macaroni and cheese. Listen, I really like macaroni and cheese. As a matter of fact, I'm a macaroni and cheese connoisseur. You feel me? Listen, if you don't put a certain amount, all right, I ain't gonna get into that, but I love macaroni and cheese. However, let's say I wanted to have a soul food restaurant. I need to understand my own SWOT analysis. What am I good at? I'm good at making this macaroni and cheese. However, I may not be good at managing the store. Okay, cool. What do? Do I go back to school, right? Do I get books? Do I learn how to get all of this together myself? Do I have the emotional bandwidth and mental bandwidth to do that and cook the macaroni and cheese? Okay. That's another part of me cooking. Now it's about me managing this restaurant. Not just that, there's another part of that. Where's the vision? What else am I going to do? Am I just going to make soul food and macaroni and cheese? You understand? How am I going to look forward? Remember, it's chess, not checkers. How am I going to go into business and expect or look forward to changes in the market, changes in the economy? COVID, I bet you COVID came and slapped a lot of y'all in the face because you wasn't prepared, which is okay because we've never experienced this before. However, how do I have or how do I put in place some type of contingency plan to stay in business? Say, oh, well, we got to close down. That's all right. We got to deliver. What? We ain't closing nothing. I can go to my grandma's house and we can get this on and pop it. But what I'm saying is sometimes you either have to build the right team or understand the skills that you don't already embody. That's when you have to build your team. This is going to be my last point. Ladies and gentlemen, I do have a book out. The book is called The Black Collar Mindset. And within that book, I talk about how important it is to build your squad. When it comes down to your business, you have to analyze the individuals that's in your circle, those individuals that's in your boat. What I mean by that is you have individuals that are in your boat, but not everybody is rowing. You dig? And as a matter of fact, there may be somebody in your boat right now silently drilling holes in your boat. You don't even know it. They right there and watching you. Like, yeah, we about to make it. And they putting holes in your boat. So when you're building a squad, you have to understand that not everybody is rowing. However, not everybody is meant to row. Think about it. You may have an individual in your boat that is the navigator. That individual is your mentor that can say, hey, I've been down this road before. All right, I'm a little bit too old to row, but I can help you avoid some icebergs. Then you may have an individual that's not rowing, but they're the maintenance man or woman. They're there to keep you mentally, spiritually, and physically at times in shape so that you can keep going. You understand? So there's times you have to analyze who is in your circle, who's in your boat. And then keep this in mind. You have people that's rowing. Watch this. You got people that's rowing in your boat, but one of them or a couple of them might be rowing backwards. Why? Because they're not on code. Uh-oh. That's another one. What I mean by that is when you have individuals that's on your team or in your squad, your business plan has to be clearly articulated, and then it has to be communicated back to you that you picking up what I'm putting down. Other than that, you rowing backwards. Okay? Because if I'm rowing forward and you're rowing backwards, that means that boat ain't going nowhere. And we're just sitting there burning calories, but ain't going nowhere. We don't have time for that. This isn't a treadmill, right? So you have those type of individuals, and then you have other individuals that just don't have the same goals and vision that you have. And that is okay. Exactly. Staying stagnant. You have to be cognizant of that. Now, we about to flip this. You ready, ladies and gentlemen? This is what I do. I need you to analyze yourself. What I mean is, if you are in a business or you want to have a business or you're in someone else's business and helping them out, realize when it's time for you to get out of their boat. See? What I mean by that is those three different stages of a business. You have the cook, you have the manager, and then you also have the visionary. Just because you know how to do a little bit of math does not mean that you have business sense to manage that store. Or just because you know how to make peanut butter jelly don't mean you can make my grandmama's macaroni and cheese. You feel me? Or just because you know how to use Facebook and you see what's trending right now don't mean that you can see the vision of where the store is going. So if you have to remove yourself from someone else's boat, do that. Because again, you're being stagnant and you are being considered an extra weight. Remove yourself, if that makes sense. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great opportunity right? A great opportunity to connect with you. And it's important to know that us in having a Black owned business is one thing, but I encourage you to focus on being a great business that happens to be Black first. You understand? Because what I mean by that is we have so many things that's against us from the gate that the only thing that we can lean on is our work ethics, our character, and how we connect and love each other. So if you have any questions after this, please let me know. I'm all about this growth and development, but it always, always equals action. And that's what love is, an action word. It's a verb. So I think that is it. I'm seeing the colors change, but other than that, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. Let me know if y'all have some questions about some macaroni and cheese. We can do that, or any other questions about business, connecting with individuals, and learning how to connect your product and services to your ultimate customer. Okay. It is so important that we know that. Sometimes we have individuals or we have products and we are emotionally attached because we're not supported by our people. Did we ever do a product analysis to see if that is even what your general population even want? Watch out. See, not everybody want candles. Why don't you go somewhere that wants candles? All right, that's number one. Not everybody wants t-shirts. Go somewhere that they may want your t-shirts. But what happens is, because sometimes our Black love is misguided. Okay, you can still support someone, not financially, but you can support them emotionally, if that makes sense. But understand what you can do, but also understand what you're trying to make. The question is, if you're writing anything down and you're going into business, is there a need for what I have to offer? Come on now. Is there a need for it? Now, there is a need for what you have to offer. However, it may not be where you are at. So we have to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you know this or not, but all money is green, if that makes sense. So that may take you to go outside of your neighborhood, okay, to really make some bread. Okay. It may take you to drive 15 miles a different way outside of where you're normally at and go and making some money. All right. Because if you want to get something different that you've never had before, what do you expect to do? Do something different. And the other part of that is not worrying about what other people are saying about your passion, your opportunities, and purpose. See, the more you listen to individuals, the more you listen to the individuals that's in your boat, those are the ones that's silently drilling holes in it right now. So I challenge you, what are you going to do within these next 24 hours if you want to go into business, if you want to make some macaroni and cheese, if you are a visionary, if you're a content creator, if you're a socialite or whatever? What is it that you're going to do to set yourself apart every day? Every day. Because if you have an opportunity to wake up, you got another opportunity to show up and then show out. So that's all I got. Let me see. So I see some people chiming in. I see some fires. That's what's up, James. Miss Lulu. Oh, she's on here. How y'all doing? That's all I have right now. If anybody have any questions, though, they can chime in and put it in the comments.
I love when my mic is muted. Thank you, Seth. I just want to thank you for coming on. We are going to answer questions at the end of the show for all three speakers. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next speaker, which is he's going to discuss gangsterism versus activism, which I'm excited about. So he was born Bernard Wooden Lofton, aka Infinite Percent, on November 19th of the year 1988 in a small city named Albany, Georgia. He's the eldest brother on both sides of the family out of a total of 12 siblings altogether. He is a music artist under the alias of P100, which means 100%. His music evolved into gangster rap, reggae, and pop type of sound. He has also written two books under his name, Infinite Percent, which are The Life of Domino Jacobs and I Need Money. You can find all of his links by searching his name on Google. He also graduated from the Art Institute of Atlanta with his BA in Interactive Media and web design. You can find his portfolio on www.loftondesigns.com. Let me spell that for you. www.b as in boy, L as in Larry, OFTONDESIGNS.com. However, he did have an incident that changed the direction of his life. He lost his brother to gang violence on October 20th of 2014. He needed something to cope with the death of his brother, as well as channel his energy positively and constructively. He got involved with Pop's movement after attending one of their marches in Atlanta. Ever since that day, he's been working hard on these front lines and networking with righteous individuals in order to bring about a change in our communities. Pop's movement was created by members of Growth and Development. However, he saw how it affected the brothers and sisters of that organization positively. Visionary Leaders was created of that platform as a means to bring about a positive change with the organization of the Vice Lords. Welcome, Lord Infinite.
Peace and love. Greetings. How you doing, my beloved sister? Yeah, just to add on to what Sister was saying, since then I have written two more books, which is one on Pimp, which is perception, influence, marketing, and presentation. And another, I think I need, The Resurrection of Domino Jacob, which is another novel. And just to add on to the bio to kind of tie in the topic of gangsterism versus activism, I kind of gotta give y'all a little juicy stuff a part of my background. But anyway, with me coming up like my family was part of the gang called CME on Rattler, which is stood like crime, murder, execution, collect money every day. We used to rock a gold black flag to the left. Man, just how I was brought up, like the gang at that time, like I was born in '88. I'm from Albany, Georgia. This particular gang was on our sides at the time. Like we had what would you call that? Like different sets on different sides at the time. Where it was like somewhat like an enterprise to a degree. And for me, I kind of fell in love with the concept of structure, even though I am a smart guy. I did graduate with a bachelor, but that structure, that brotherhood, I heard Farrakhan spoke one time. It was like, as a black youth, like a lot of time when you want to be a part of an organization or do something for people, it was like, if you never had that experience of being a part of an organization or a brotherhood, it's kind of hard to navigate in a humanity type of needed capacity, like where you plan on a team. So for me, like with the CME on Rattler, when we got into a situation, we ended up fighting the police, a lot of stuff we got banned from Albany. Moved to Atlanta, 07. At the same time, still, like I said, I graduated with a daughter still. So 12th grade, I wasn't looking for no college or nothing like that. And I wasn't looking for no college like to spend a lot of time. 'Cause I did get accepted in Morehouse and stuff. Like I was a smart guy. Like it's crazy. Like it's and growing up in the hood that I was accepted, I was embraced, and at the same time I also knew how to fight. So then I come from a lawyer family, so it was I was able to see both sides and tying in like with high school. I went to I was a part of clubs like FBLA, certain type of club where coming from a small city, I feel like that's imperative. Like I looking back in hindsight, I see how a lot of these programs I was part of that being able to travel, it kind of broadened my horizon and seeing a lot of things and able to identify, and also having my dad, which is like an OG in my life. And I kind of was able to become like a big brother figure to a lot of my peers. So coming home, fast forward like time that ain't coming into Atlanta, I ended up coming home with a vice lord. Like I said, I was already on that path where we had them fought the police. I was already on a negative path. Like now, like I was looking at it like, okay, I wanted to be a part, not necessarily be a part of positive, but I seen how like so many of us coming up on a negative with a negative idea, like where we can able to infect a lot of people with a negative criminal mindset. It was like my due diligence to wanna correct that problem that we kind of had a part in creating. Like that coach the Tony Montana, Michael Corleone, like it kind of came in with the movies and stuff like that. And I wanna tie into the history of Vice Lord. So Vice Lord, the organization was formed in 1958, where the original intent, like you had brothers out of St. Charles in Chicago, they were locked up in like a juvenile facility. They came together and created a organization saying that we want to be loyal to all our vice. And the original intent, it was negative, like fighting and trying to control the territory, trying to control streets and stuff like that. But the difference with Vice Lord as a gang than a lot of other gangs, Vice Lord wasn't never no one group. Like it was like speaking on a brother that came together in St. Charles. A lot of these brothers was already leaders, a part of their own establishment. So it like you brought different tribes together. So even since the inception of that, it kind of was like a different type of government. And my knowledge from that, like this structure, like again, then like 1958, at that time, these brothers, the civil rights movement, when the civil rights movement happened at the time, a lot of brothers, Martin Luther King, like they saw like asylum from the vice lords in Chicago when they would come to the city, like they was in protected in a sense, or nobody that mess with them. And also we get a lot of books and history that a lot of these brothers wrote on behalf of the nation and the furthering of the nation. But at that time, these brothers and sisters had like 5 business. They had a tasty freeze ice cream shop, had a teen time center, had a clothing center, had a lot of these different type of programs and stuff that acclimated for the youth. But unfortunately, a lot of these programs were government funded, and in the history we once had president through the leader tutelage of Bobby Gore and the brother Alfonso, along with David Dollar. They was able to apply for a Rockefeller grant and we got approved for like $250,000 loan, and they was able to utilize those funds and resources and put those into like creating a business. But when at the time, like, and I want to get into LSD, Lord Stone and the Cyber that were created in 1969, where you had Vice Lord, Growth and Development, which was Gangsterism and Black Peace Stone. They came together in that city to shut down constructions in all black neighborhoods. Over 1,000 and like 1,500 brothers that you'll call gangster came together to shut down constructions, like demanding that if ones don't hire, if we don't have first pick at jobs, the fact that we live in a community, and then y'all ain't gonna be able to work. And I mean, after that happened, like they were on through this organization, the Lord Stone and the site, they kind of created like peace treaties, coalition, where ones were able to neutralize a lot of the violence going on within the city of Chicago at the time. But you know how white supremacy, like people talk, so they got on after that rally, after so many what you would call that repetition of shutting down constructions, like the mayor of Chicago, they saw it as a problem, so they created a war on gang. That war on gang kind of spilled in a lot of states. I can testify that to in Georgia, like the war on gang kind of created a whole add on to a charge. Say you get caught, if you do any type of crime or any type of thing, if you're associated with a gang, just by your association, that can attach 5 years to your sentence. And they started adding RICO into the mix, conspiracy, a lot of that stuff in the game. But that's the background talking on gangster. But I'm saying all that to say, cause I want to get into a definition. I want y'all to understand my mind, my background. So when I look at definitions for me, and a lot of these concepts, they came into the picture before drugs even touched on. Like when we say a player was like a person dealing with, no, I'm saying, he played on women, or that's how he did it for, that was his game, that was his thing. You had a hustler, a person that was maybe at that time they were gambler, not gambler, doing number running and stuff like that. The gangster was like a smart person, like at that time. Gangster wasn't a person trying to be seen, and I learned it like in hindsight, looking at my dad a lot. I really didn't learn a lot directly from my dad. I learned a lot from the people that taught and shared experience with me about my dad, and that was just some gangster stuff. And I'm just thinking, looking back at the top of the gangster, a lot of time in their Hollywood reality, a lot of time definition gets slurred. Like now we got a Hollywood perception of a gangster, like the Tony Montana and stuff like that, to the point that we just associate the criminal element or that aspect of gangsterism. And I brought that point of the LSD shit on the construction site. And then also at one point you had brother created like CVL Incorporated, which was, before all of this happened with the war on gang, it was gonna be a political party created by the Vice Lord. We dealing with activism. The definition of activism is to, I just put it on, exercise your right through, what you call that, picketing, protesting, and even on writing, even through petitions. Like that's the point to you know what I'm saying, to get some type of law passed or to advocate for a cause. So for me in that topic, activism versus gangsterism, it kind of go back to when I had to think about it. It's like really got to be the intent of the whole thing. The whole thing is a totality. Cause we can say this business that we created, it can be a game, but the fact that the intent is for something to advocate change for our people or something like that, and we doing strictly positive and legitimate dealing, then that activism. But if we indulging in criminal enterprise and we using that advance, like on that side, whatnot, then it like gangster. And I'm just looking at it like it really just the intent. It really just the intent when you break down the activism versus gangsterism. Because you can see in both instances what we can say, man, that activist was gangster. Like when we look at one like M.Ed Jr., like that was gangster sitting on that bus, you know what I'm saying? When he, I ain't gonna say that. I mean, I had mid-quote. That was gangster, Rosa Parks sitting on the bus in the front of the bus during segregation. Like that was gangster Malcolm X speaking, how he was speaking during the time of segregation, like that was gangster what Marcus Garvey did. At the time, cause a lot of this stuff was illegal. It was illegal to be black to a degree it still is. So it's like when we look at the intent on that. And also, and just to add on the direction, we had OG, we had oracle type people, like it was like the village to raise the child coming up. And reason why, to an extent, I do identify myself as a gangster, cause I love that gang aspect. I love the organizers. Like I love that bringing people together, that coming together, the structure to be able to make things happen. Like with structure, I ain't talking about nothing negative, but just to make things happen without having to talk to everybody. Like that really, like the connections of being in that, the connections just of being a part of that brotherhood. And it's the same, like when you look at different fraternities and stuff, like to a degree, like that gang in my perspective. But again, like when we get into the intent. And also to another point with activism versus gangsterism is activism to a degree, and you can kind of tie it in and look at it with the music. Like to a degree, like we can say ones like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, they kind of do activism music, and everybody else do like gangsterism music. And just using that musical comparison, we can say that like the culture of gangster is more popular than activism. And when we talking about one striving to be the best they can be for their community, I feel like we kind of gotta look at people where they at, like kind of how Jesus did. Cause it's going back to the definition of activism. It just say the act of advocating for a cause or some type of just law. If we advocating for one thing and we get that law passed, or we get some type of thing to the floor, do that make us still activists? And we sit down after that, like activism, we keep going, like it's kind of like jumping into like whatever, jumping into the net lane, jumping into like whatever cause we see fit. So it's like a lot of time with me, and I had a brother from the Morrison Temple break it down to me, like with a lot of words, like the etymology of a lot of words. We kind of gotta look at the words. Like a lot of time these words, like we gotta probably define these words. But when we get labels on stuff, it kind of, we limit that to the word. Cause it's like you can be a gangster doing activist type of work, and at the same time you can be an activist doing something gangster. So it's doing something that would be considered gangster. And I had this point too, and not necessarily this point, but they kind of speak to our youth, because at the end of the day, this is what it's about. Our youth and uplifting the young chicks. And a lot of us worship or idealize like the mafia culture, like the Goddess, the Gante, the Tony Montana, like we caught up in that world. But the reality, I read this book called Game Busters, and I'm finna wrap it up with this book. I see that got the lights on, but the book called Game Buster, it broke down how the feds went after the mafia, and how they like the mafia, like only way you knew about La Cosa Nostra is if you was in if you happen to see it. So how the Fed did when they J. Edgar Hoover found out about it, they used movies. They were like, they created a plan, like they was already researching psychology and stuff like that. They were like, they used did movies like Godfather and a lot of these movies to to create awareness in the people mind to look at that like a problem. And at the end, and once they did that, like people in America, like we got to get these people out of the street. We got to lock them up, and they kind of created the charge that started that, and then we get the RICO law that a lot of our brothers that are part of these gangs that got caught up in. You know what I'm saying? They started using RICO to tag up, but our leaders are coming. Like I know the codes in the demonstration. I open with the Alpha and I close with the Lord prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses, and we forget those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. That is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Y'all can follow me in Infinite Law. Peace and love.
Well, oops, there it is. I am so excited, Mr. Infinite. I'm telling you, you guys have been really coming out and explaining some things. And I thank you for your knowledge. I thank you for the time that you've put in your own life to study and become informed. Our next guest that we have, our next speaker, will be speaking about stereotypes. I want to just break the tradition of the routine because she put a quote that I want to share before I even read her bio. The quote says, "The most common way people give up their power is believing they don't have any." I love that. Takia is currently a self-employed subcontractor in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Takia earned her Bachelor of Science degrees with an S in criminal justice and forensic science from Western Carolina University and her Master of Education with a focus in higher education from the University of South Carolina, Columbia. She delivers content via trainings, facilitation, speaking, engagements, and business consultation. Though TK does the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging work to create inclusive and equitable spaces for people from all marginalized and underserved backgrounds, her passion is within her own community. TK is dedicated to promoting those who belong to the Black diaspora to enter into spaces in their most authentic form while being knowledgeable of the rules of engagement in what is deemed as the professional environment. In doing so, she focuses on topics and conversations surrounding systemic oppression and challenges and their historical origins, self-awareness, challenges of Black women in professional spaces, and the importance of rebuilding the community's foundation, especially in terms of finance and education. A powerhouse of knowledge, creativity, determination, passion, and the desire to remain a lifelong student. TK will continue to encourage, educate, support, and advocate for positive forward movement within the Black community. Welcome our next guest, Ms. Cunningham. I'm going to be speaking with you, ma'am. I love your passion, your heart, and your vision. You guys welcome her to the show.
Hello, everybody. I welcome the conversation. Bring it on. I'm always here for connections. Always, always, always. As it was stated, my name is Takia. I go by Takia or TK. Either one is fine. Just a little bit of background knowledge about me. I am from North Carolina. Obviously, went to school in North Carolina and South Carolina. So definitely from the South. And I am the eldest sibling of the siblings that I was raised with. And I am the only girl out of all of those siblings. So it was a fun adventure growing up with a bunch of younger brothers. But here I am, and they still scared of me to this day. I am a first generation college student. My family is from a low socioeconomic status. So growing up, we didn't have much, but we made do with what we had, and what we could get, we took advantage of. And I'm so blessed to be here. Thank y'all for the opportunity. And we're just kind of gonna get into it. So wait for my PowerPoint to be pulled up, because unlike our former speakers for tonight, I need a little guideline because I can talk for forever. So with that being said, today we're talking about Black stereotypes, and I'm not a basic presenter. So when I saw the topic, I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. But I was like, how do we not be basic with this, right? So I want to talk about Black stereotypes under the prize of you are not those stereotypes, and you are exactly who you say you are, regardless of what anybody else got going on. So what we're going to be getting into today, who they say we come from, and they are colonizers who literally stripped our African ancestors from their land to be on stolen land, and profited from the work and labor and death of African and African-American bodies. We're going to talk about that. So that's who they is throughout the presentation, just so you know. And then we're going to say who they say we are. We're going to talk about how socialization is a real thing and how deceitful the socialization can be when we listen to the outdated colonizer Eurocentric standard of education. Then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of talking about who we really are, because again, you are who you say you are. It's just that simple. And then finally, we're going to talk about who we can be, because there's lots of great things happening in this nation as far as the Black community is concerned, and I'm excited to talk about it. So again, let's get into it. We all kind of know, I just threw this in here for anybody who needed a visual of kind of what happened with the timeline of the transatlantic slave trade. So they started at 1619, but we have pretty good knowledge that the slave trade actually started in the 1400s versus the 1600s, but we're gonna let them have that, right? But moving through the years, you see how there's American slavery, segregation, and then originally it said liberation, and I was like, I don't like that, because there's a lot of things that we not liberated from and we are still challenged with, right? So let's not put that. We're just going to label that as modern day, because we still struggling as a community. So moving to it. The Eurocentric based history tells us a lot of things that are just fallacies as a collective, or they are very skewed as a collective. So first things first, Africans were uncivilized and had no social structure and were savages. Chaos. That is not how life was on the continent of Africa. It's just not what it was. They actually have very developed and complex social statures and customs, religions, spirituality, beliefs, and the traditions and the way that they practice those things showed up very differently from community to community, from tribe to tribe, from empire to empire, right? So just a fallacy. We are taught that we are the descendant of slaves. No, we are the descendants of enslaved people. They were not slaves. They were not born into slavery. They were stolen and made slaves. So that concept of switching your mindset from, oh, I'm a descendant of a slave. No, my people had a life before they got here, right? They were living that life, and they were taken from that life and that culture, their family, their land, to come and live this life here, which grateful for my life, but that wasn't the move. The other thing that we hear oftentimes is that Africans are already selling one another. So, it was just only proper, right? It was only proper that we started selling Africans, or Europeans started selling Africans into slavery. No, that's not the whole story. There was trading in Africans for other things, but it wasn't just at the sake of creating this support system for colonization. Every single empire and community in Africa in the ancient world saw themselves as individuals. They were not collectively African, right? Yes, they were, but they didn't identify as that. So while all this is going on, they were having wars of their own, right? So you have prisoners of war. There's still crime taking place. You have people that are doing what is deemed in that time as not suitable for whatever society they were in. Those were the people that got traded, and it was usually for firearms from Europeans to protect and defend their land. It was not for the sake of just selling other African bodies. So get that out of your mind. And then finally, the concept that everybody just has the same opportunity and that they're given the same space with the same challenges. We all know that that's not the case. There are systems that are set in place. Each time there is an advancement in Black society, there is a challenge, a threat that is set in place to keep us as a community from taking that advancement. So it's basically like them saying, yes, this opportunity is here, but it's encapsulated in this bulletproof, fireproof, clear vessel that you can see through so you know it's there. But we took red tape and put it in gasoline, and we wrapped the whole thing with it. And now we have an overseer or a racist or a colonizer or whatever you want to call them holding the flame. So if you take one step towards equity, we're going to set this aflame and you're going to never get to it. I know I'm speaking a little aggressively for some, but I'm the person that likes to keep it real, and that's what I pride myself on. So I hope that y'all can bear with me through the whole thing. We're not going to play a video, but we're going to talk about it. When you are in the oppressor role for anything, you have the desire to feel superior. That is how you keep people oppressed. You have to be able to justify your inhumane treatment some way, shape, or form. And I don't know if y'all remember this particular scene from Django. And yes, Django is a satire action comedy movie. Cool, understood. But there are things in there that you can really pick up on and utilize if you just pay attention. In this scene in particular, Leonardo was talking about how there was a slave that had been with his family through 3 generations. And that in the back of his head, if he was to bust his skull, if he's cut his skull open, he had passed away, there were 3 indents. He said to Django that if he were to bust his head, he would have those exact 3 indents because he too was not intelligent, was not capable of being creative. He compared the skull to that of Isaac Newton, and just literally exuded this superiority complex. Why do you have to do that? You have to be able to justify you killing people, keeping people in spaces when there are 7, 8, 9 of them in a living room space, a small living room space. You have to be able to justify whipping them to death, hanging them, shooting them, taking their babies from them, separating families. You have to be able to justify that somehow. And the way that you do that is you make them think they're inferior. You make them think that they're built for labor. Again, stereotypes of back in the day. Black people are inferior. Africans and African Americans are built for labor because they're dark skinned or they have different hues, so we can put them in different places, contributing, of course, to the colorism that still exists into the community today. They're created for submission. They use religion to make people think that they were supposed to be submissive. And then the concept of feeling little to no pain. There's so much that has happened to the Black community in the name of medical advancement that it makes no sense. And you would think that it was decades ago. No, we're talking about the 80s, early 90s, now, if you want to keep it a buck. So, going from enslaved through modern stereotypes and tropic identities. So back in the day, we have these different tropic identities that exist. So the Mandingo, Sambo or Uncle Tom, which is very intriguing because there's some history that goes with Uncle Tom. We won't get into it here, but if you are intrigued, look it up. Sambo is just like that happy slave. Like that's what they're identified as. The savage, we still see this show up today. The mammy, Aunt Mama, the sapphire, and the Jezebel. I'm not going to explain all of these because I truly believe that if you're intrigued enough by something and it's kind of a common knowledge thing for everybody else, then you should Google it. That's how I feel. But we see this translate into modern day stereotypes, right? So the magical Negro or the token Negro, the magical Negro that always, just is pleasant to be around or has the capability of supporting the white lead in everything, right? So we'll get into some examples of that in a second. You have the Black best friend. They're always around, and it's usually a woman. And it's usually a woman that is deemed as pretty, but not prettier than their white counterpart. Then you get into that thug role, the gangster role, and Black men are constantly playing this role all the time. Then we have the angry Black woman and the domesticated woman. All of those modern day stereotypes, and those aren't all of them, because you also have the single mom, the Black single mom. You also have the welfare queen, right? You have all of these things that have been placed and burdened on our community that has a serious impact on us. It literally has shaped and molded the way that we interact with each other as a community and how other people choose to interact with us based upon the fact that we interact with one another like that as a community. It's a lot. So if you know who these folks are, I want you to I'm gonna take literally 10 seconds. I want you to just place names in there. Place names in the chat, because I can see it. Place names in the chat. Let me know who you know. Dope. Okay, cool. So for those of you who don't know, these are some very influential folks in media, right? All of these folks are media people. This is Hattie Mcdaniel. Again, if you don't know who she is, go Google it. This is Oscar. Oh, I can't remember his last name right now. It's French. Moudreau. There it is. Oscar Moudreau, who became a director at the time when there was no money for Black entertainment. Became a director. Had he been present now, listen, him and Tyler Perry would be best friends. That's Dorothy Dandridge. Amazing woman. She, a couple of these folks, Hattie Mcdaniel took on the role as being the mammy. Dorothy Dandridge actually had signed or verbally agreed to a contract position where she was going to play a stereotype as well. And all of these folks have basically broke through to make way for Black people to be in mainstream media. And last but not least, definitely is Sidney Poitier. You got to know it. We're going to talk about how it shows up in modern media, right? So the Green Mile, that's that magical Negro role. The whole time, even think about it, his name initials are JC, right? Jim Crow. Then you think about how he really has no importance outside of supporting or making the main character, who is white, recognize what they're supposed to be doing or bring life or light to them versus him having the light in himself. Pam from Martin, she's the best friend, but we all know this is a Black show, right? So she plays the kind of like the sapphire / angry Black woman. Like, she just mad all the time. She's very sassy. She just do what she want to do, right? Then we have the help, and you see what she carrying. It's the pie. And then Mr. Ashton here, All Day and All Night. If you haven't seen it, it's actually a really good movie, but it's all about the life that we just heard from our previous speaker, right? Like, it is some real solid things in there. And granted, I don't always like to see our men portrayed as gangster or being, savage or killing folks or being involved in drugs. But this was actually a pretty decent account And that's from my lived experiences and those lived experiences of those close to me. So that's how all of that shows up. But this has a lot of mental and emotional burden on our community, right? We have issues with creating a safe and secure life, which, if you know Maslow hierarchy of needs, that is the baseline. You should feel safe and secure and have the bare necessities of life, right? It creates an issue with that. We don't feel safe where we go. We don't feel secure walking throughout this life on our own. It's a problem. Interactions with people are based on what the media shows versus actually being involved with the community, right? Another dilemma, because that affects jobs, that affects the way we enter into spaces, that affects the lifestyle that we want to live that we may not be able to access. It's a whole dilemma. And then self-confidence and awareness. If you're constantly told that you fall into a tropic identity or you are who I say you are, you eventually start believing it. And that right there is the dilemma. Don't believe their hype. Do not believe their hype. Believe your own hype. So these folks up here are just some modern day waymakers. They're doing the thing, right? So we start at the bottom left. That is Noah. He became the student body president at Harvard, first Black student body president at Harvard. Go up for him, Amanda Gorman. She is the youngest inaugural poet. The lady in the middle, that's Pinky Cole. She runs Slutty Vegan. And then above her, we have Nicholas. Nicholas is the first Black valedictorian from Princeton. And then Senator Warnock. Y'all already know how he was moving during the election. So we're here for a first Black senator in Georgia. So believe your own hype. Don't listen to other people. You know who you are. So with that being said, if you don't know who you are, think about it. Who are you? I'll tell you who I am. I'm a woman that's making her way out of no way because I came from nearly nothing. Yes, I have these 3 degrees and I will strive for the 4th eventually. Not right now though. Yes, I have my education, my formalized education, but my life education is more beneficial to me than that. Starting a business is where I'm at. So I appreciate all of the information that we got in the first speaker. I appreciate you, sir. So that's where I'm at. I'm the first person in my family to start a business. Nobody else in my family owns a business. Nobody else in my family has 2, 3 degrees. Nobody has 1. I am a sister. I'm going to be a mother. I'm going to be a wife. I'm going to be all that I want to be and can be, and nobody else gets to define me, right? And that's who I'm going to be. Nobody can make it up but me. If I can envision me 5, 10, 15, 30 years in the future, then she will come to fruition. So we're going to end it up on where we're going in the future, right? There are 41, according to the US 2020 census, there are 41.1 million people in the nation that identify as being Black alone. There's another 5.8 million that says they're Black in another race. And we are taking a transition as a collective. We're seeing people align spiritually, mentally, emotionally. People are reading up on and sharing information so that we are now becoming more knowledgeable as a community. This event itself is sharing information. We are now going back into our nature roots. We're gardening and making sure that we're eating healthier, and we're trying to maneuver in the way that we know that we're supposed to maneuver, but haven't had the space to do. And we're doing that because not necessarily because we have the space. Sorry, I also have a dog. Not because we have the space, but because we're making space. And the building and the maintaining of Black meccas across the nation is amazing. Y'all not gonna come and blow us up again. You're not doing it. You're not pulling another Tulsa, because we ready this time. We ready and we gonna handle you. And there are so many other things that are happening in the Black community that I'm so proud of, and I'm so happy to be in a place where I get to not only be a part, but move forward in the movement. I'm gonna leave off with this. One of the lessons that I grew up with was to always stay true to yourself and never let what someone else says distract you from your goals. And so when I hear about the negative and false attacks, I really don't invest any energy into them because I know who I am. That's by the best first lady in the land, Michelle Obama. And I resonate with that. Know who you are, stand firm in that, and put yourself in a position where you attract those who are of like mind and higher skill set. You should never be the smartest one in the room. I appreciate y'all, and I hope that everybody has a wonderful night. Have a good one, y'all.
Well, all I can say right now is I had to go get my hat, y'all. She brought it. She brought it. I'm like, man, Takia, you listen. I'm speechless. Creating space. That's exactly what In Your Dreams Broadcasting Publications is all about. So you hit on so many levels of where I am and where I'm striving to be, just coming in. So to be around experienced people, even though I'm an elder, someone mentioned something about pride. I think it was the guest before. One of the things that I shared with someone is that a lot of times the older generation, what we get is we get in this mindset that we don't want to show our wounds and say that we don't know. And I think that keeps people from actually stepping in because we're looking at the younger generation and you guys are tech savvy and everything is going on and we're sitting back feeling behind the 8 ball. But thank you for those words of encouragement, the words to help the culture identify with exactly where they are. Takia, you hit on so many topics and subjects. We just thank you, as well as all of the guests, for being here on today. And I'm super excited about tomorrow. Maria, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I just want to thank everyone for coming out to speak and taking the time out. At this time, we will take questions and answers from the comments. And let me, I can display it on the screen. So Lulu asks, what gave you the drive to be the first in your family? And I think that's probably directed at Takia.
Yeah. So if we have like a quick moment, my childhood was not the best. My mom is one of those women who kind of wasn't ready to have kids when she found out she was having me. And so it's funny that you bring up like those wounds that elders may not be ready to close yet. I think that a lot of those kind of occurred during my childhood and my siblings' childhoods. And so when I was about probably like 12, I always knew I wanted to go to college. I told my brother's aunt at 4 that I was going to college. But when I was about 12, I had a really bad incident with my mom. Like, it was terrible. I also attempted to take my own life when I was in the 9th grade. There's just so many different pieces that built up to it. But I knew what was important was that once as I survived, I had a purpose, right? I have the capability of doing what I do and doing it well. I made a poem when I was in middle school, and part of it literally says, I'm going to go and get a college degree. I said, sadness, anger, stress, and pain. Things used to be great, but they're just not the same. People come up to me every day and ask me how I'm doing, and I say, fine, knowing deep, deep inside that I'm lying. The strength to go on, the will to push back, comes from the feeling that I feel when I think of the fact that she has 4 kids and no college degree. I look at her every day and say, that's not going to be me. I'm going to go somewhere and make something out of my life. I refuse to live this kind of life over. Over and over, I think of the fact how teens get pushed and never push back, they drop out or get pregnant or receive an STD, and I say to myself, that's not going to be me. When I made the decision to live my life, I said I'm not going to do it unless I do it right. I made that choice, and no one's going to stand in my way. Not you, not them, not even my mama, okay? I know you think that this is too deep to be coming from me, a girl from Western Middle who was just 13, but I'm trying to say that I've seen these things. Girls getting pregnant before the age of 16, messing up their lives when they're supposed to be, living a good life by living their dreams. Teens dropping out because they feel they have no destiny, and I'm here to tell you it's not just for me, it's for you and you and you see? But don't get me wrong, there are those who achieve their goals, who go to college and have a nice big bankroll, who have the knowledge to back up what they say. You know what? That's going to be me someday. And I'm here to tell you that you can do it too. Ladies, don't get caught up and let some dude take away something that belongs to you. Keep your mind on your goal and your goal in your mind, knowing that it all happened on God's due time. And that's something that I live out every single day. That's what motivated me. I had to be there. I had to be a better person for my brothers. They are coming up behind me. I wanted to give them somebody. I have God babies now. I want to give them somebody. And most of them are girls. I only have one godson. I want to give them somebody to look at and be like, no, my auntie did it. My godmommy did it. My sister did it. So I'm going to do it too.
That's so important that we give them something to look up to. I absolutely agree. That's amazing. And your poem was amazing.
It was.
That's so let's go to the next question. It looks like it says, is it true that not all Black businesses owned by Black businessmen are Black-owned businesses? Does anyone want to answer that?
So I can touch on that here briefly. I believe is it true? It can be, right? But it all depends on the intentions of, first of all, who owns the business. All right. How is it being financed? But if you want to get into the semantics of it, what is it doing for the Black business and also the community as well, right? I believe that there is a difference between where your money come from and where your money is going, and how that money is continuously being circulated. So again, like you have heard the terminology or the saying, not all skin folk is kinfolk. So that means that just because our hue is the same does not mean that our love is the same and our intentions are the same. So that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you. And then the next question says, how do we distinguish what is considered gangster from being revolutionary?
I guess you really can't. I just when I seen that question flashing across the screen, I really first person that popped in my head was Al Capone. Al Capone was no gangster, but he was revolutionary because he monopolized all during prohibition. Like he capitalized on prohibition. That was revolutionary. Nobody was even thinking about doing something in that time. So revolutionary by definition is someone introducing a new idea, a new way of thinking. So we really can't distinguish the two to answer that question.
Yeah, I would like to jump on that if you don't mind. An example of Mr. Hoover, right? Larry Hoover, how he's taken Gangster Disciples and how it's been transcribed into now the growth and development. So I believe that a gangster can transition and transcend to being revolutionary, to change and evolve into something else, because my past is linked into that type of lifestyle. However, individuals have to take and make a conscious decision. What is it that they want to do with themselves? Because being a G doesn't have a retirement plan. Can't get a 401k doing that. You know what I'm saying? So before you want to run the streets, how are you going to run your family? How are you going to run your own mind? So by being revolutionary, you have to take certain things and transcribe into something different. And then no matter what type of leadership position that you're in, it's not about what you think about you that matters. It's when you look behind you, who is following you and where are you leading them?
Yeah.
So that's my point on that.
And then let's see, it says, how do upcoming actors deal with roles that may degrade the people as a whole?
So I think that this answer, number one, I'm not an aspiring actor or anything like that. So let's start there. Let's throw out that disclaimer. But I think that it depends on we're just talking about mindset, right? You have to be able to set up what you are going to accept if you are up and coming, because you don't have the capability of discerning of, oh no, I'm not going to take that role, right? I don't have the space to be able to say, oh, if I was going to be an actor or actress, I'm obviously a dark-skinned Black woman with natural hair, okay? And I'm quite sure there would be some roles where I would be cast just because of my personality as a whole. I would be casted as the sassy friend, right? Now, am I okay with being casted as a sassy friend or not? Do I want that tropic identity to be represented by me or not? You have to ask yourself those questions and figure out where your limitations and your boundaries are and move from there. I don't think anybody should have the capability of telling you how to maneuver through your life to create the dream that you have. So if you got to take the role, you got to take the role. Who do you have to explain yourself to?
Maria, excuse me. Hey, Maria, I wanted to jump into that. I happen to have been speaking with Melvin Childs. He's the producer for The Love of Money, the director producer. And I'd asked him that very question because it really grieved my heart that when I was in Nashville, I was able to see the country music. And I listen to many genres of music. And looking back at our community, the African-American community, the music. So I asked Mr. Melvin Childs about that, and he made a statement to me. He said, Francetta, what you have to understand is that you have to put food on the table. These are the contracts that have the money, unfortunately. And he actually said that, it's something that he has to really think about when he's making decisions. But then ultimately, of course, it boils down to finances for a lot of people. So then where do we go from there? We have to have non-negotiables established for ourselves. We have to go into the community and be able to teach value, to teach us that, you have to know your value and then learn to add tax to that, meaning that we do come from a culture of kings and queens. So when it comes down to roles, music, different things like that, we all have the freedom to be able to get in our niche, in our community, and support one another in our community. The rap industry started along the time of the drug epidemic. So it's about survival for a community, but then it's also about exploitation because you have the contracts being written, signed, and the money and the manipulation starting with that very industry, because they don't value our community. They want us killing each other. They want to see the women out here, following I won't call names, but you know what I'm talking about. They want to degrade our community and continue to keep us enslaved and in bondage. And that's what they're doing. They're giving us an appetite for something and dangling this carrot in front of us and making us have desires that is costing us our freedom. And that's where we've got to become more educated about the decisions that we make to participate in a part of this. That's all I have.
Well, thank you for chiming in. You're always wisdom, Miss Mays. It's always amazing. There's another question. It looks like Samaya Brown said, who are the most influential people in each of your lives? Does anyone want to answer that?
I didn't know where all of y'all were going at. What, like, it are a lot of type people like from my personal capacity.
Yeah. Anybody that's influential in your life?
I mean, my dad no longer with us, but he was really influential in my life, and I do have like mentors that I came across. Like shout out Freedom Brother of his. Shout out myself, my big brother. But as far as like from my Ed, I definitely for me, his superior match that Ali Celeste and another P for Margaret Garvey. Like for me, what this brother did, like. It was, I ain't gonna even go into it because it's a long story, but Margaret Garvey kind of inspired me like to stay consistent, like how he was able to establish the UNIE and the ACL for the Africans all across the world. Like his journey was definitely impeccable. And I lived a lot through that brother's life.
Well, personally, I believe that most influential individual in my life was my mother. She passed away in 2019. I saw her do a lot of amazing things single-handedly, and the fact that my father was in Ghana at the time, she still understood how important it was to give me the opportunity to have male influence in my life. Now, because she was working so much, sometimes those male influences were very motivational during the day, but at night they was giving me the other side of the real life. Right. And so it gave me the opportunity to have that balance, right, of loving, learning, and being influential myself. So I would say my mother has been that one. Always will be that one.
I'm gonna slightly echo that. Though me and my mother obviously have our quorums and everything, I saw my mom do remarkable things with raising 4 kids by herself. There are times that I've seen my mom, not eat because me and my brothers had to eat. She struggled to make sure that we always had what we needed. We didn't have everything we wanted, but we did have what we needed. So being able to create and be inventive and innovative, my intelligence, I chalk that up to my mama, like, wholeheartedly. My cousin is another influential person to me. She just has always been herself. I wrote an entire essay on her when I was in the 3rd grade. So it was my end of year essay, and I wrote it about her. She she's also dark skinned. We look very similar, but she's always kind of shown me, like, value yourself. Like we just said, know your value and add tax. Like, understand that you're worth more than what people are, placing you out to be. But then I also have some wonderful mentors that I've come across in my lifetime that I'm truly blessed to have. An old supervisor of mine supports me at every step of my career, and I'm so grateful for that. And then I actually just recently met a woman in my last job position. Phenomenal. Her spirit, her aura, the way she conducts business, the way that she understands that there's that difference between where your dollar is coming from and where it's going, and how she has decided to, give me the advice that I seek, but also give me the space to grow. I wholeheartedly appreciate her for that too. So those will probably be like the 3 most influential people around me.
That's wonderful. Is there any I don't think there's any more questions. I do want to give you guys the opportunity to share how people can get in touch with you if they needed to, or if you guys have certain organizations you belong to or emails you would like to give out, I'd like to give you guys the opportunity before we close.
Yeah, y'all can follow me, get at me for my music, p100.com, p100.com. Web and graphic design, bloftonDNA.com, bloftonDNA.com. Visionary Leaders, os.com. That's the website for the program. I do website logo, like y'all need all of that. Peace and love.
I literally just I have LinkedIn and I have Instagram. I haven't gotten my website up yet, but it's coming hopefully before the end of April. I'm not gonna lie to myself like that because April's my birthday month and I be wild.
You gotta rest.
So we gonna say by May it'll actually be up.
So how can they follow you on Instagram?
Instagram is TellEmTK, so TellEmTK. And then LinkedIn is just my full name, so Takia T-Keyah Cunningham. And if you just literally make sure you tell me where I know you from, like just that's my only thing. Like don't be like, oh hey girl, I'll be like, ooh, who are you? Cause no thank you. He's like, oh yeah, I watched you on the Black Effect. That'd be cool. I'm cool with that. Thank you.
And then Seth.
All right. So, yes, first I want to say thank you all for this opportunity. This was outstanding. I love the conversation and in the connectivity. But individuals could find me on, actually, you can Google Seth the Speaker, a lot of different places, or you can go to my podcast website is Lions Pride, all one word in the numbers 21.com. So that's LIONSPRIDE 21.com. And I spoke of my book, The Black Collar Mindset. You can also find it there, theblackcollarmindset.com. And like I said, if you Google any of that, then you will find me. The podcast is called The Lion's Den with Seth, right? That's the podcast. Make sure if you do Google that you put with Seth, because if you look for just the Lion's Den, an adult store will pop up. That's not what you want. Okay. So it's the Lion's Den with
Good morning.
Yeah, right. You know what
Maybe
I'm saying?
that is what they want, Seth.
Hey, if that's what you want, then you won't find your book. But anyway, like I said, it's a great opportunity. But I would love to connect with anyone to help you get to the place in life that you want to be.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everyone that Plus TV and Media and Productions, as well as the National Plus Coalition, is self-funded. And tonight we are asking that if you can donate anything to keep us going, we'd appreciate it. You can do that at Cash App, $Coalition88, or you can use PayPal, and the donation link is in the video. I also want to thank everyone for watching day 3 of The Black Effect. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I believe tomorrow we're going to talk about mental health and the crack epidemic and some other great topics. You guys have a wonderful evening. And thank you, speakers, for being here for us tonight.
Thank y'all for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.